So Marty drives the DeLorean over to Doc's place, lets himself in, parks the car and goes to wake up Doc, who conveniently is sleeping in the garage at his workbench. And we get this frankly awesome line.
"This is your time machine, Doc." Marty smiled. "I brought it over."
Which is pretty badass, though I wouldn't write "Marty smiled" between the two sentences. I'd write, "Marty said," throwing Doc the keys. Doc,
very deliberately,
walks in a circle around the machine, then pulls out his flux capacitor sketch to show Marty. Marty shows him the real thing in the car and Doc says,
"It works! It works! I finally invent something that works!"
Doc, surprise, keeps talking.
The next thing he did was stand very formally, as if addressing an audience of very learned people. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said in a deep and sonorous voice, "and members of the Nobel Committee. It is a great honor for me to accept the Nobel Prize for the year 19. He paused, turned to Marty. "What year do I get the Nobel Prize?" he asked.
And I really, truly love the child's level of understanding of the world at play here. There's just one Nobel Prize and it's called the Nobel Prize. Adorable. Anyway, Doc interrupts himself and says he doesn't want to know too much about his future and would prefer that it remain
a warm and wonderful surprise.
And has the word wonderful been tainted for anyone else by this book? Because I'll keep adding in warm and there until it has. It's no hassle for me. I'm happy to do it. Honest. This page ends when Doc gets all haughty and says he's always responsible with his experiments and would never send a kid back in time and just leave him the "So what's Marty doing here anyway?" Will Book Marty tell him? Let me answer that question with a question. Has Book Marty ever not told anyone anything? Page 124 to 125. Marty describes the accident that sent him back in time as
pretty heavy, really.
And Doc says,
"What does weight have to do with the problem?"
And Marty says,
"I'm sorry. That's just an expression."
And so hey, they got that whole thing out of the way pretty easy. Doc warns Marty that he shouldn't change the past, that even
one molecule, one atom out of place could destroy the entire fabric of the space-time continuum.
Which is a really intense warning, especially since Marty has messed with all sorts of atoms, not to mention all that Pepsi he chugged before his sleepy time nap. Doc seems to realize this, as he pauses after this and says,
"So we must be careful we don't do anything significant."
And oops, too late. Anyway, an hour goes by and Doc figures out how the DeLorean works and opens up the suitcase future him packed and begins examining what's inside. He finds a hairdryer.
Don't they have towels in the future?
Don't tell me I'll actually use that.
Cotton clothes.
I thought for sure we'd all be wearing disposable paper garments by 1985.
A Playboy magazine.
Suddenly the future's looking a whole lot better.
Okay, so none of these lines were actually in the movie, but they exist as a deleted scene from the movie. Nobody's less porn negative than me, ladies, but the whole idea of someone packing nudie magazines with them to bring to the future is kind of sad. Interesting? Insanely revealing? But Doc takes the magazine and opens it up and looks at it and then looks at it upside down and then sideways and laughs and says,
"Here I am, ogling a woman who hasn't even been born yet."
All while Marty watches him. Ha ha ha, weird. Doc, you are weird and pervy. In case you were wondering, October 1985's issue of Playboy looked like this. And because it is the future, you can buy this very issue of used pornography on Amazon. You can choose between condition, issue has small stain bottom front cover, the jokes, they write themselves, and condition, used/good may have mild reading wear, may have some notes, highlighting, or underlining, and who among us has not enhanced our pornography with a highlighter, judge not lest ye be judged. And guys, may I just say the fact that John DeLorean is on the cover is blowing my mind. Pages 126 to 129. Marty says that if Doc thinks the naked lady blows his mind, wait till he sees this. And then shows him the video of him from the future, you know, the one that ends with his own murder, sex and death, baby. We rerun through the same awful scene that ruins the flux capacitor, and Doc says,
"What did that old guy just say? Let me see that again."
And then he says,
"Holy cow. Jumping Jehovah."
And races from the garage shouting,
1.21 gigawatts.
And what does Marty shout after him?
"Doc."
He shouts. Doc count, 3.
"Hey, Doc. What is it?"
Doc count, 4. Yes, and he catches up with Doc in his living room where he's painting? And this whole scene is crazy loco, you guys. Doc's doing a
nervous dance and painting like a malfunctioning windmill.
in big red streaks. Marty wonders if Doc's gone crazy and then admits to himself that
The fact was he didn't really comprehend who or where he was.
what? Or man, what? Still,
Was the real Marty McFly standing here at this point in time, or was this just a clone, as it were, thrown off from his later self?
note, Gipe, congratulations on your first semicolon news.
If something happened to him now, would he be reborn again in 1968?
Note, yes, obviously, this is not hard.
Was it even possible that there might be two Marty McFlees, separated by 30 years of age, who could meet in the future?
Note, yeah man, totes. Anyway, Doc's still being crazy and Marty's like Doc WTF. And Doc says,
"I'm painting. I always paint when I can't understand a problem."
and I honestly do not understand what happens next. Marty decided to humor him.
"Well, use green," he suggested softly. "Green's your color. Is it? How did you know that?" "I just know. Trust me." Brown looked at him a moment, then swabbed a mass of green onto the palette and transferred several broad strokes of it onto the canvas. He was almost immediately calmed. "Why, yes. Yes, you're right," he breathed. "That's much better." Marty nodded. "I knew it would be," he said.
What? What? Where is this coming from? I've read all of the words in this book, I'm taking it for the team, ladies, and never once has it been suggested that Doc is one of those charging bears that you play the violin for in cartoons. At my most charitable, maybe this is meant to suggest that Marty and Doc know each other so well that they are true brothers, and like all true brothers, they know how to set up nice quiet moments of contemplation for each other. In any case, Doc tells Marty that 1.21 gigawatts is too much power and that Marty is stuck here. And the chapter ends. And you can imagine the book ends, if you want to imagine kind of a downer ending with a weird green paint focus. Chill, bro.